Hello, I'm Jim Morningstar, your guide through this 9-session Integrative Life Teacher training series. Styles of managing anxiety. Rare or highly trained is the individual who experiences no level of fear at some point in giving a public performance. Much research has been done on these styles of managing anxiety, not just for public offerings, but for other types of performances and preparations. Two general styles that stand out were quite surprising but educational to me. Julie Norem, PhD, published her extensive research on these styles in her best-selling book, The Positive Power of Negative Thinking. Here is her description of a married couple who display the two major strategies for handling anxiety that her research delineated. Catherine and Bill are similar in many ways. Both are intelligent and highly educated. They both have good jobs and a network of caring friends and family. Clinical psychologists would describe them as, quotes, high functioning, which means that they get through the day without major disruptions from whatever psychological issues they may have. They pretty much get done what needs to be done, and, importantly, they also get done what they want to get done. They are strikingly different, however, in at least one respect. They take very different approaches to pursuing the goals that are important to them. Specifically, they use very different strategies for dealing with the anxiety that can derail their attempts to accomplish what they want to do. Their approaches are so different that each has difficulty understanding how the other strategy can make sense. Catherine uses defensive pessimism. She sets low expectations for upcoming situations or events, and then reviews all the outcomes that she can imagine. She spends a lot of time and energy mentally rehearsing or playing through the possibilities until she has a clear idea of everything she needs to do in order to have the best shot at success. Why does Catherine, time after time, continue to be pessimistic and continue to reflect endlessly on all the things that might go wrong? Why does she put herself and those around her through all the extra agony and hassle rather than just simply recognizing that these things have gone well in the past, they are likely to go well in the future, and all this fuss and worry isn't really necessary? The answer is that Catherine continues to use defensive pessimism because it works for her in empowering ways. Catherine is anxious about things like publishing her research, taking responsibility for public events, and making sure that special occasions are special enough. She knows that the past can't guarantee the future, so she takes control of both her own anxiety and the situations she is in charge of by focusing on the potential downside when she prepares for upcoming events. Other people often find her negativity off-putting, at least until they understand its function. Her husband, Bill, sometimes feels as if Catherine is being negative, quotes, on purpose, for no reason other than being irritating. But it's not like that at all. Catherine is an anxious person. She would feel right at home in a Woody Allen movie. Defensive pessimism is the way she manages her anxiety so that it doesn't keep her from doing what she wants to do. When Bill sees how people like Catherine or his business partner Daniel, who perhaps not coincidentally is also a defensive pessimist, go about their work, their lives, he simply doesn't understand what all the fuss is about. For Bill, and those like him, the best course of action is simply to do what needs to be done without a lot of reflection and without angst. Bill would never describe himself as anxious or pessimistic. Indeed, the closest he might get to say that all the rumination Catherine and Daniel insist upon before important events makes him feel a little restless, and that he'd much rather just get on with it. When things go wrong for Bill, his typical reaction is to shrug philosophically, extract whatever consolation he can, and look ahead to the next endeavor. When things go well, he congratulates himself and celebrates his success with those around him. Bill engages in what I call strategic optimism. He sets high expectations before an important situation or event, and then actively avoids dwelling on how things will go. He works hard and is generally well prepared, but his preparation does not stem from mental rehearsal ahead of time. In fact, he seeks out distractions that help him avoid that kind of rehearsal. Bill's problem is not that he needs to cope with anxiety as he anticipates upcoming events. Instead, he needs to avoid arousing anxiety in the first place. He feels edgy when his partner insists on playing through every contingency because they just create anxiety that he wouldn't feel otherwise. Bill distracts himself not from the actual anxiety, but from potential anxiety. When he sits back in his chair and reads travel brochures, he's already confident that he's done what's necessary for things to go well. For him, further reflection serves no positive purpose. Simply put, Bill does not typically feel anxious, but Catherine does. She needs a strategy to effectively manage her anxiety, and he needs one that helps him to stay anxiety-free. To maintain his strategic optimist coping, Bill uses, quotes, positive illusions that are positively skewed distortions of reality to help him avoid anxiety and explain away any contradictions to his optimistic worldview. These two situational strategies are different than what psychologists call the dispositional attributes of optimism and pessimism, which tend to be enduring attitudes people possess towards perceiving the world throughout their lives. When strategic optimists and defensive pessimists are trained to employ each other's coping styles, they uniformly do poorer on their tasks and are less happy. What surprised me is the degree to which I use the style of defensive pessimism, even though I do take exception to the terms defensive and pessimism. I probably would use the terms supportive realism, that is, infusing more confidence and less self-criticism into the approach, instead of defensive pessimism, as well as the term global optimism, having a backup plan or two for potential challenges instead of strategic optimism, both of which I've experienced. Now, each style can learn from one another rather than trying to convert each other to their styles. For example, the global optimists can bring a bit more of supportive realism into their attitudes without losing their generic confidence. And supportive realists can relieve a bit more of their internal pressure and harsh self-criticism as their experience grows and alter some of their negative core beliefs with global optimism. Let's do a brief self-inventory on how we employ these strategies in our life and how we might alter them. Complete Handout 4, Styles of Managing Anxiety in Life Performances. 1. Ways I have employed strategic optimism in my life are. 2. Ways I can bring more global optimism, that is, having some backup plan for potential challenges, etc., into my life are. 3. Ways I have employed defensive pessimism in my life are. And 4. Ways I can bring more supportive realism, that is, infusing more confidence and less self-criticism into my life are. Then come back to the video. Holding you in my heart as fellow travelers on the road home, I send and receive blessings for our circle and all sentient beings till next class. Blessings in light and love.